If you're shopping for a townhouse in Ottawa right now, or you're on the other side and you're looking to sell one, this is a video that's worth paying close attention to because the data is telling a story that a lot of buyers and sellers are honestly missing. On the surface, the townhouse market looks fairly calm. The prices are flat, the sales are holding, and there's nothing super dramatic happening. But when you look underneath those headline numbers, there are two things happening at the same time that are kind of pulling the market in opposite directions. And which one wins out is really going to determine what the next 6 months in this section of the market is actually going to look like. We're going to take a close look at the Ottawa townhouse market today, and this data is going to cover both townhome types together. So the freehold townhomes and the condo townhomes. And these markets can behave a little bit differently. So next month, I think I'm going to separate them out by condos and freeholds. But for this particular March update, it's going to be all encompassing. Now, jumping right into the stats here, we're going to talk about the sales volume in March year over year. So this is every March for the last 10 years. What have these sales been doing for townhouses? And we can see in 2026, we're a little bit below the 10-year average. We're sitting at about 332 sales for 2026, and that's pretty flat year over year. In 2025, we were practically the same. We were 335 sales, so flat as far as that sales volume goes, and actually a little bit better compared to 2023 and 2024 if we're just looking at the number of properties that have moved. And this 10-year average, I'll say as well, is being pulled up by 2021 and 2022, which are 2 years that were absolute outlier, like once in a couple of decades kind of years. And that continues to drag up the 10-year average. But it does show as well just how far we've come from that 2021 and 2022 crazy period. We're quite a bit lower than that, but pretty consistent overall over the last few years for sales volume. Now this tracks similar numbers, but this tracks 2024, 2025, and 2026. So we can see kind of seasonally how things are doing. And we can see the seasonal trend is pretty encouraging. It's exactly what we would expect. The number of sales has crept up January to February to March, which is what we've seen the last few years. So we're on exactly the trajectory we would expect for a March. So what this chart basically tells me is that the buyers are there. They're being cautious. If we were to take this chart back another couple of years and see what was happening in 2021 and 22, the lines would be up here for March. But buyers aren't in a panic right now, but the buyers are there for the good deals that are priced well and present properly. It'll be really interesting to see what's happening in April. It's April 20th today, and it is feeling like the market's a little bit softer, but it'll be interesting to see what the stats tell us as we head into the later part of the spring. Now, this chart here is the active listings year over year. This is the number of listings that's sitting on the market at the end of the month. So this is, again, every March since 2017. And we can see we had quite a bit of inventory 2017, 2018, dropped right down from 2020 through to 2022. And then shot up in 2023 and basically has just kept on that trajectory to the point now where we have actually surpassed that high in 2017. So this is actually the most listings we've had sitting on the market in a March in the last 10 years. And the sales are flat. So what that's telling us is that the inventory is continuing to build up month over month, even though the sales are staying relatively flat year over year. And naturally, what this translates into is if you're a buyer, it means you have more selection. There's more listings that are staying on the market for a longer period of time. And if you're a seller, you have to work a little bit harder to stand out. And the two levers you have control over as a seller are usually the price and the presentation. So you got to make sure that the marketing is on point, the photography, the videography, and you got to make sure you're priced realistically compared to the other stuff that's on the market in your neighborhood. Because if you're not one of the best, you are probably not going to sell in a reasonable amount of time. Slide number 5 here is a look at months of inventory. So this is one of my favorite stats to look at. Basically takes the number of listings that are on the market at the end of a month, so the last chart that we looked at, and divides it by how quickly the properties are selling in that given period. And it gives us a really good measure of absorption, how quickly things are coming onto the market and being taken off the market because they have sold. And what we're looking at here is a pretty interesting trend. So this is the last 15 months going back to the beginning of 2025, but we're really going to focus in on this year. So we can see we peaked for months of inventory for townhouses in December, January, which makes sense. It's the quietest time of the year. We usually see things sell more slowly around that time and things sit on the market a little bit longer. And we can see the months of inventory just drop down in January. went up a little bit through February, March. And the reason we're seeing that is the sales are staying relatively flat, but the number of properties coming onto the market is increasing as we head into the spring. So the months of inventory is creeping up as a result of that extra inventory, those extra properties that are coming to market. Now, the days on market has been telling a similar story here. We can see last year around the fall, we were down around 32 days on market. This is how long the average property is sitting before being sold. And we crept up as we approached the later part of the year, which is extremely normal. And the days on market has fallen down since then. And you can see we're pretty much back to the fall level here. We're 31 days on market as opposed to 32. But what I want to compare it to here really is March and April of 2025. And we can see relative to last spring, which was not the busiest spring, 25 days on market was the average, and we're still up at 31 in March of 2026. So this is something that's worth paying attention to. What we really want to see over the next couple of months is this days on market go down because we're approaching a busier part of the year. If that doesn't happen, that could indicate that the market is really kind of softening even as we head into the spring market. So if we continue to see that buildup of inventory and that kind of flat sales volume, this could be another indicator, the days on market, if it goes up as well, that could be another indicator that things are a little bit soft this year. But month over month, we're up 21%, or down 21%. Things are moving quite a bit quicker, but up 22% from last year, year over year. And average sales price, this is a good one to look at as well. I find benchmark sales price often tells a bit of a better story, but I like looking at the average sales price too. And we can see this actually tells quite a good story. We've got $535, the average sales price back in December, and we've basically shot up pretty consistently since then to the point now where we're at $569 for the average townhouse sale price in Ottawa. And if we compare that year over year, we're actually up very slightly, just under 1%. And month over month, we saw that increase in sale price, which is, again, exactly what we expect to see this time of year. Things generally sell for a little bit more in the spring market than they do in the January, February market. So that's what we would expect to see for average sales price. Whether or not that trend continues is going to be interesting to see. It feels like things are softening a little bit in certain sections of the market, but as far as the market overall, we'll have to wait for the numbers to see exactly where we stand on that. So in summary, the Ottawa townhouse market, when we're looking at it as a whole, is one of the most competitive segments in the city right now. The spring momentum is starting to be a real thing. The days on market has dropped pretty quick, although not quite to the levels we were seeing in 2025, and prices are holding fairly steady. The challenge in this section of the market and in every section of the market right now seems to be inventory. There's 847 active listings, and it's the highest we've seen it in years. This means that buyers have lots of options. Well-priced homes that show well are moving. Overpriced homes are sitting. Buyers do not have an appetite to try to negotiate those high prices down. They're just going to look at the other inventory that's priced more competitively. If you're buying, this is a competitive segment, but you have more choice than you have in a long time. Anecdotally, I'll also say that the freehold section of the townhome market is definitely tighter than the condo section, so we're going to separate those stats next month if that's something you're interested in seeing. If you're selling, make sure you price right on day one, and if you're buying, make sure you move quickly on a good freehold townhouse because it could be gone quicker than you would think. Thanks so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day and take good care.